Hi everybody, welcome to today's round 8 recap of the Women's Grand Swiss of 2023. We have made it to round 8 and the gas is on. We have 3 players leading the pack. We have Vaishali, Muzychuk, and Antoaneta Stefanova. All 3 players are looking for a win today. We have some huge head-to-head matchups that I'm very excited to go over. As a reminder, this is a game in 90 minutes plus 30-second bonus from move 1, and once the players hit move 40, they get a 30 minutes added, so they have 90 minutes for the first 40 moves. All right, let's jump into it. All right, this game is between Vaishali Rameshbabu, who is currently 24-48, and she's an international master. I think that this rating actually is not super accurate because she has gone up in this tournament. I think she's like 11 points away from hitting 2,500, which is amazing because she'll get her GM norm or GM title. She has all 3 GM norms. And she is playing Sophie Millier, who is 2391, and she is also an international master. Sophie is definitely looking to get a win today. She is only half a point behind the leaders, so she is definitely still in the mix. It's also her birthday today. So will she break the birthday curse? I know a lot of players have been losing on their birthdays, so let's see what happens. All right, starting us off, we have E4, E5, Vaishali is with the white pieces, Sophie is with the black pieces, Knight F3, Knight C6, and Bishop B5. This is a Roy Lopez. We actually had a Roy Lopez, I believe, on the top 4 boards, and as the game started, I just watched everybody start playing the same moves, and I was like, oh dear, everybody's gonna play a Roy Lopez today. But okay, we get A6, Bishop backs up, all very normal stuff. We get Bishop C5 and C3, and now we get B5, attacking the bishop. Bishop gets to slide back to B3, D6, A4, we get a push of the pawn, and now D4, attacking the center. Bishop backs up, bishop to E3, and now castles, knight B to D2, H6, all very normal developing moves. I really like the move A5, knight G4, and knight G4 might be a little bit ambitious, bringing the pieces a little bit more forward when you still have pieces on the back rank that need to get developed, but okay. We get H3, attacking the knight immediately, knight trades off for this bishop, F takes, and I don't think Vaishali was very, unhappy with this trade. I think she was very happy to see the F file open up. And now she's going to get pressure from her bishop on B3, as well as this rook onto F7. So let's see how she tries to take advantage of this. We get knight E7, and now knight to H4. Knight to H4 is such a nice move. She knew that the knight was trying to come over here, and she was like, no. If you're going to try and come over here, I'm going to move my knight over there and not let you come over. D5 now, and this move is kind of crazy, and the board is about to blow up, y'all, okay? E takes D5, and now the pawn is actually a little bit poisoned, and Sophie does not realize it. She plays knight takes D5, and she was not allowed to take this pawn. She needed to play either E takes D4 or B takes C3, but she takes the pawn first, and now knight G6. Oh, yeah. If you try and take that knight, oh no, here comes rook takes, and you have to take this way. If you take back with the queen, guess what's hanging? So has to take back with the queen, and then she would get to play queen to F3, and if bishop to F5 trying to defend, I'm just going to play bishop takes D5, and after C6, bishop takes, rook to C8, and rook to F1, and this is just a completely winning position for white. This bishop is trash and almost is barely a piece in the game, and it is very, very nice for white. So this would be a winning sequence if she takes the pawn, but she does not take, or not the pawn, if she takes the knight, but she does not take the knight. Instead here she plays knight takes E3, and she's attacking the queen. However, Vaishali throws in a really nice move, and rook takes F7, and if Sophie would have taken here after rook takes F8, ooh, king to H7, and you're gonna lose your queen anyway. And then after these trades, this is just much better for white. Look at all of these pieces. This is so sad. This bishop is pinned. This rook is gonna try to get into the game, but white just has a winning position, and this would have been really nice after something like this. And you can't take, because if you take, I just take. And so she wouldn't be able to go into this with taking of the queen. However, after rook takes F7, Sophie plays rook takes F7 and is just yeah, you know what? I guess I just have to go into this. But now queen F3. And the rook is pinned, cannot take the queen because of the bishop. And so both rooks are actually hit. And there's also a checkmate threat coming. If she does nothing, say she tries to defend this rook, this would just be immediately losing after king h7, knight to f8, and you would have to either sacrifice the queen, and if you don't sacrifice the queen and you just move, then it would just be mate. So she would have to sacrifice the queen. So Sophie's obviously like, no thank you, I don't want to deal with that. Let's just play queen to f6, and this was actually the only move, and Vaishali just has a beautiful advantage. So we see knight takes e5, being very patient, queen takes, knight takes, and now b takes, and c5, and the rook is still pinned, and she finally decides to take it, and now king to f8, bishop to b3, and technically Vaishali is up a pawn, but also positionally she is just completely dominating, so it's more than just being up a pawn. Rook b8, finally trying to get the rook into the game, knight to g6 check, king e8, bishop to a4, and the players were starting to get into a bit of time trouble. This is move 26. They have to hit move 40 to be able to get that extra 30-minute bonus. Bishop d7, and now rook e1, c takes, bishop takes, and we get a trade of minor pieces, king to d8, and the advantage is starting to slowly go down. Players are now at move 30, rook e7, rook b1, king moves up, we get another check, king moves up, and now bishop to b8. We get rook takes g7, rook takes g2, so they both get a pawn. Vaishali is still up a pawn though, and it's a beautiful pawn, if I do say so myself. Rook b7, attacking the bishop, and now king to c8, attacking the rook. She played this move with 1 second left on her clock. It was crazy. We were all like, oh, is she gonna make a move? And then she literally played this with 1 second on her clock. Rook b6, moving it out of the way, going to defend the knight as well as attack the pawn. Bishop c7. And this is a dirty trick, because if she takes the pawn here, she actually would be completely losing because of the very, very nice bishop to b5, attacking the rook. And if you defend, if you try and move your rook out of the way, say to here, it would just be mate. Wow. So can't do that. And she wouldn't be able to go back here even with a check thrown in, because the king's just going to move up and it's the same idea. If you try and defend, it's the same mate. So very tricky, and she's playing this with literally no time on the clock. Vaishali sees this, does not take, she sees the mate threat, and she plays rook to f6. And now we get bishop d8, attacking the rook. Rook takes a6 finally now, because the bishop has left that diagonal, and there's no longer the mate threat. The king can always run this way. And so now we see king to b7, attacking the rook, knight to f4, and she plays this with 5 seconds on her clock. Both players have not hit move 40. Still, it is move 38. They are playing just off of increment at this point. King takes a6, knight takes, and now the game kind of just fizzles out into a draw, because there's just no way of being able to win this. They do a little repetition, and Vaishali just is like, you know what, I'm just going to keep playing this out, see if maybe I can try and muster something up and pull something out. But the bishops are honestly just going to trade themselves for the pawns, and then the knights have no way of mating the king. So that's kind of what happens. We get a few trades, and then eventually the players, this game actually went on for a really long time. I was surprised by how long this went on. Eventually we get a trade of minor pieces, and then the king is able to go into the corner, and that is a known drawn endgame, and the game was a draw. So Vaishali definitely had the advantage halfway through the game, and then got into a bit of time trouble, and both players were in time trouble, and she was not able to convert. We all, I think, were thinking that Vaishali was going to win this because she had such a nice attacking advantage. But okay, the game goes into a 70-move draw, and both players go up with half a point. Right, this game is between Grandmaster Tan Zhongyi, who is 25-17, and Grandmaster Alexandra Goryachkina, who is 25-58. Both of these players have played each other a ton of times, and they're both looking for a win. So Alexandra Goryachkina technically is already qualified for the candidates, and so she has not a lot of stakes, but Tan Zhongyi is not qualified, and she really wants that spot. So she is looking to take down Goryachkina. All right, so we have Tan Zhongyi with the white pieces. She starts us off with e4, e5. I told you guys that there was a lot of Roy Lopez's, and we're going to see them. Knight to f6. Castles, knight takes e4, and this turns into a Berlin. Boo! Boo to the Berlin. Okay, but I promise it's an exciting game, okay? Rook e1, knight d6, we get a4, bishop e7, very normal moves, developing. We get now e4, knight takes, a trade of knights, D5 attacking the rook. Rook slides back. Bishop G4 pinning the knight. H3, bishop backs up. And C3, D4, B4, castles, G4, attacking the bishop, which I really like G4. It's very provocative, saying, yeah, I don't really care. I'm going to push pawns in front of my king, and what are you going to do? Bishop G6, bishop B2, D takes, and queen takes, and rook takes. And finally, white's rooks look really nice, and Tan Zhongyi has the bishop pair. Tan Zhongyi is probably very happy with this position. And now bishop D6, B5, A takes, and knight A5, C4, rook F to E8. We get knight to E5, F6, knight takes G6, rook takes E1, a trade of rooks, H takes, and now bishop G2. And the light squared bishop is going to be uncontested. Knight takes C4 is not a threat here because of the very pretty knight to E5, just simply winning a piece. And so that's why she's able to play bishop to G2, rook D8, bishop C3 attacking the knight, B6 defending the knight, bishop D5 check, king to F8, and now G5. And I think this is a really nice move. She's saying basically take her pawn, and she's just going to play rook to E6. And look at these ugly triple pawns, and she's going to be able to win those. And so we don't see her Goryachkina take. We see rook to E8 instead. We get a trade of rooks. And now G takes F6, G takes, and she goes down a pawn. So let's see if Tan Zhongyi is able to convert this with the bishop pair. And knight to B3, king G2, and we slowly see her bring her king. And now we get bishop G4, and we see a rearranging of her pieces, and Tan Zhongyi has a very nice advantage. She's clear up a pawn. She has the bishop pair. She's controlling a ton of squares. Bishop E5, F3. She's slowly going to bring her king, slowly going to try and march her pawns up the board. Look at those bishops just controlling so many squares. Bishop E5, both players have hit time control. This is move 43. Knight D6, king moves up, bishop D5, knight moves over to E8, F4, here come the pawns, G5, F takes G5, bishop takes G5, and bishop slides back to G3. King D8, basically Goryachkina is saying, I need to run over here as soon as possible to stop the king from walking in and being able to trade off these pawns. Bishop F7 though, knight to D6, bishop takes D6, pawn takes, and king takes B6. And now white just has a passed pawn. And obviously she has this pawn, but the bishop is looking at that square. And now she's going to have this pawn. King D7, bishop D5, bishop H4, king B7, and bishop G3, and B6. Bishop goes to F2 to attack that pawn. And she finishes off the game with H4. This is a very nice move. If she would have taken, then Tan Zhongyi would have calmly slid back to A8 and eventually been able to promote this pawn because she is now protecting the queening square. And so in this position, Alexandra Goryachkina resigned. Tan Zhongyi gets the point. This was a very nice game from her. She just had a clear advantage. She got up a pawn, she converted, and she is now 5.5 out of 8. So, moving on to our next game. So both of these players are currently tied for first. We have Grandmaster Anna Muzychuk, who is 25-10, versus Grandmaster Antoaneta Stefanova, who is 24-24. And let's start it off. So, this is board 1. Guess what it is? A Roy Lopez! But we see F5 this time. We get D3, F takes E4. This is a very ambitious opening from Antoaneta, and I kind of love it. So, D takes E4. Knight to F6, attacking the pawn, castles, bishop C5. We get a trade of minor pieces, B takes, and this game is kind of crazy in terms of, so she plays queen to E8, knight to D3, bishop G4, attacking the queen, queen slides over, and this game is going to get a little wild in terms of pawn structure. Look at those pawns. What is going on with those pawns? We get A3, and now we get bishop to E6, backing up. And if she's able to play this move, that's going to be a beautiful pawn structure for Antoaneta. She's going to have these really strong pawns and a light squared bishop that's able to weave in between them. So we see E5, which the computer thinks is a mistake, but I think it's fine. It's so minuscule that it's fine. Bishop c4, e takes f6, bishop takes d3, attacking the rook. And now we get f takes g7, attacking this rook, rook to f7, queen trade, and now we get rook to d1, bishop to c2, attacking the rook, and the rook has literally nowhere to go. So the players did a repetition of moves on move 23 and the game was a draw. I just kind of wanted to show y'all this because I thought that this pawn structure was like super cool, and if she would have been able to get a pawn here, like the diamond would have just been like really cool to see. But yeah, so this game was just, it ended up in honestly a very calm draw, but Antoaneta had a very ambitious opening with going for this. This is a very sharp line. But it ended up in being a draw. Okay, this game is between, I think this was on board 4. Yeah, board 4. This was between international master Leia Garifullina, who is 2402, versus Polina Shuvalova, who is 2506. Ooh, this is, again, a Roy Lopez, I know, but all the players were playing Roy Lopez's, okay? What do you want from me? So, I'm sorry I'm showing you another one. I promise it's exciting. Castles, bishop e7, very normal moves, attacking the bishop, supporting the center, a3, castles, knight brings out, just developing our pieces slowly. Knight goes into the center. She says, no, 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 we're going to trade. Queen to e8, bishop to e3, and bishop to d8. After b4, we get bishop d7. Computer says this is an inaccuracy. You're supposed to play, apparently, king to h8 here. I don't know. But bishop d7 makes sense to me. Rook to e1 comes, and knight to e7. And the idea behind, by the way, of her playing bishop to d8 earlier was basically to free up that square for her knight, for her to reroute. We get bishop b3. All very normal stuff. Players trade off some center pawns. We get offer of a trade of bishop. She's like, yes, 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 let's trade. Queen to d7, and queen moves out of the way. We get rook to e8, rook a to c1. This looks very nice. And now she attacks the rook. Rook slides over. Rook b to d8, and now she gets to kind of double up on the d file. I guess it's with the queen and the rook, so not a true double up of the rooks, but still a lot of power on the d file. Bishop to b2, and now we get queen c8, e takes d6, and c takes d6, which makes a lot of sense to me. And Garifullina does not need another second. She plays queen takes, rook takes here, and now knight takes. And after you take, oh, she's up a pawn. And I know it's just a pawn, but it's a pawn. Bishop takes c1, rook takes, king slides over to protect the knight, rook b1, going to attack the pawn. It looks so normal, but apparently she was supposed to play knight to f4. And now rook takes a6 also looks pretty normal to me. Winning a pawn. Knight to f4, rook to a8 check, king to h7, rook e8. Both players have not hit time control, and Garifullina is just up now 2 pawns. But now 1 pawn. Rook takes b3. Rook to e3 offering a trade of rooks. She says no. h4. Rook to a2. g3 attacking the knight. Knight slides over, attacks the rook. Rook moves over, attacks the knight. Knight to b6. Rook to c3. Knight to a4 attacking the rook. Rook to c7. Makes a lot of sense to me. Apparently it's an inaccuracy. She was supposed to play apparently rook to e3. Rook takes a3. And rook takes f7. And Garifullina is still up a pawn. They have hit move 40 though here. And both players get an extra 30 minutes. Here they had like literally, I think like under 5 minutes. But here they get their extra time. And now knight to c2. King g6 attacking the rook. Rook to b7. Rook b2 attacking the knight. Knight moves over to e3. Knight to c3. And now h5 check. King takes h5. And rook takes g7. Knight e4. Knight d5. Defending the pawn. Rook takes f2. And it looks so great, right? King to g1. Knight to f6. Attacking the knight. And she plays the very nice knight to f4 check. And I think this is what Polina missed. Because after rook takes, pawn takes, knight to d5. Attacking both pawns. But f5. And the pawn is going to be able to promote. The king can never come in. And it is very nice. The king is going to be able to walk over here and be able to support one of these 2 pawns. The knight cannot defend both. And the game was over. And Garifullina gets the win. Very nice win from her. In 50 moves, she cleans up. She had like one opportunity to create some chaos and win a pawn, and then she was able to convert that. And then also there was the mistake of, king takes h5 earlier, and then she was able to honestly just have a really nice game. And Polina gave her, she made it a little bit easier towards the end of missing back here, all the way back here, when she plays this here. This move, she made it a little bit easier, and she gets to play this really nice check, and then she forces an exchange this way, and it's just very nice. Also, I wanted to show y'all this game, just the ending of it. This is between International Master Stavrula Solakido and International Master Bivisara Asabaeva. Both of these players I thought were going to be playing very fighting chess, and then they just honestly, like, I'll show y'all, they just ended up having a repetition of moves on like move 25. And so I thought that was kind of crazy. They both did not have a ton of time. I think they had like under 20 minutes and they were only on move 25. So I think they just maybe didn't want to take any more risk. And this was the game from them. I thought this was a very important game because they're both chasing GM norms, but they both had to face each other. And I thought that one of them was going to get a win, but okay, they both drew. All right, so let's look at the results fully. We had 2 draws on board 2. You guys saw those games. We saw a decisive result on board 3 and board 4. We had this draw as well. We had a couple more draws. We had some decisive results. And we see these are the rest of the results from our players. And then the standings, we have still a 3-way tie. Vaishali, Anna, and Antoaneta, all with 6 points, with 4 players trailing only half a point behind. So we shall see what happens tomorrow. This is a very close race. These are the rest of the standings. A ton of players with 5 points as well as 4.5, and a ton of players with 4, going all the way down until this is the rest of our standings. So we shall see what happens tomorrow. I'm very excited to see what happens. This is going to be the games I want to show y'all. Round 9, we have Vaishali versus Antoaneta. We have Anna versus Garafolina. Ooh, it's going to be very exciting. Tanjani, Sophie Millier. It's very exciting tomorrow. I'm very excited to see what happens. I hope we get less Roy Lopez's. I'm tired of the Roy Lopez. I don't want to do any more Roy Lopez games. But yeah, also, it's kind of, I feel like we've seen a pattern in the Roy Lopez from at least the women's section this tournament, whereas I think in the Open, they've been playing a lot of Sicilians. So yeah, we've been seeing patterns in both, but this was today's games of round 8. I shall see y'all tomorrow for round 9, and then we only have 3 rounds left, y'all. We have 9, 10, and 11. So we will be done on Sunday, and we shall see who gets those top 2 candidate spots. I'll see y'all tomorrow for round 9. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.